What's up, everybody? It's your boy, King B, along with GC.
What's going
What's up, How you
on?
doing today?
I'm great, man. Happy Friday to everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Contra-Dictions. The other side. We got a lot to talk about tonight. White culture. We got the white culture piece in the African American Museum, or do we? Then we've got the Georgia governor bickering with the Atlanta mayor. This is not anything new. If anybody knows the relationship between the two of them, it is a turbulent one to say the least. So we will get into that as well too. But yeah, man, feeling great going into the weekend. How about you, Kenny?
Yes, sir. Pretty good. We'll also probably throw in here at the end a little Nick Cannon, James Harden cancel culture. So get a couple little hot thoughts on that. But again, just want to welcome everybody out. Thanks for spending your Friday with us. And let's get into the first one. So the first one's we're going to go through the white culture. And for those of you who don't know, there was a piece that came out, and the piece is called called Aspects and Assumptions, Whiteness, White Culture. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bring it up on the screen for you guys right now. Forgive me. Obviously, this is the first time that I'm doing it this way. So let me go ahead and see if I can get where we can share the screen. And I'm gonna go ahead and try to pull up.
Yeah, bear with us tonight. We are missing we're missing our main man Fred tonight. He might jump in a little later on. You never know, but
okay. So let's see if we can. Let's go ahead and share this. All right. Oh, that looks real confusing. So let me again, guys. I apologize. There we go. So I believe. Let's see if you can. Let me try this. Chrome tab. Oh, there we go.
I pulled your whole screen up there.
I got it now. Something called. There we go. Okay, so here it is. It says white culture, aspects and assumptions. So what I wanted to do was I just wanted to kind of go through this. And I guess my first question, I don't know why they put this in, and we will go ahead and let me preface this by saying that they just took this out today. So it got a big enough uprise to take it out. Now, I don't know if it should have been taken out or not, but I just wanted to go through here and just go ahead and read the intro here. It says, white dominant culture or whiteness refers to the ways that white people and their traditions, attitudes, and way of life have been normalized over time and are now considered standard practice in the United States. And since white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, we have internalized some aspects of white culture, including people of color. So I think there's some truth there. What's your first thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely think there's some truth with that, especially that last bit where it talks about including people of color, and not to just automatically jump to the race thing, but I do think that there's a part of, because I'll be honest, when I first even came across this whole thing, and I don't know if someone's, knowing my luck, I'll get some loony that comes on here and tries to say that I'm being anti-Semitic or something, but I didn't know that white was a culture or had a culture or anything like that. So just, that whole thing kind of was shocking to me. But then as we're reading this and we're going through it, it's like, well, if I guess my whole thing is this. All right. So white culture, or what some may deem to be white culture, if there even is a thing, is not exclusive to just white culture. And to my knowledge, a lot of what white culture is the appropriation of cultures, pretty much mixed into one.
So let me ask you this. Let's make it a little bit different slant here and go, okay, if we had a sheet that said black culture, right?
Yeah.
And you walk in, you see a sheet called black culture. What are three things that you feel like are a part of black culture? Clearly, you're black. What are three things that you believe are that you've learned growing up that is black culture to you?
I would have to definitely say camaraderie or family for sure. But do I think that that's exclusive to the black culture? No. I'm trying to think of ones that could maybe be exclusive to Black culture. Dancing or moving your body definitely is something that is part of Black culture. Visually, I would say, in general, Blacks are typically more aware of their appearance and things like that. I mean, that could be a stereotype, some may say.
Okay, well, I think a lot of times cultures are going to overlap with stereotypes, because stereotypes, as much as people try to speak out against them, me, I'm big, I love comedy. It's one of my biggest things that, I was just watching some last night, love comedians, and jokes are only funny if the stereotype makes sense, or if it specifically doesn't make sense, which makes it funny. We've talked about that before. Certainly it's a lot funnier if I dunk over a 7-foot Black guy. I mean, that's just funnier because that doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense because it's less likely to happen. And for the record, it would never happen. I'd be cheating on something. But let's go through this. Again, my major problem with this is just that, kind of like what you said before, Glenn, I don't believe there is a culture to being white. I think there's probably a culture to being wealthy in certain instances. If you've historically been, part of the, I was about to say the Rothschilds, but I don't want to connect this to Judaism, but I do think Jewish, has a culture. I do think Latin has a culture. I do think urban has a culture, which I would call Black culture, but there are certainly Black people that wouldn't fit into that culture. But to me, there is no white culture. So we'll go through this. It talks about rugged individualism, that the individual is the primary unit. First of all, the individual is always the primary unit. I mean, and if, to me, what this is also saying as a whole is these are things that have been accepted, and that, I believe that because of the difference where we're at right now, when you read something like this, white culture, it's not something to be proud of. I certainly couldn't go on Facebook and tell how proud I am of my white culture. That would not go over well, right? And so when these things, for instance, in rugged individualism, it says individuals assume to be in control of their environment. You get what you deserve. Now, I don't necessarily believe that you're in control of your environment. I've never been taught that by anybody. I never sat down, but you get what you deserve in all the leadership books that I've ever read. They do talk about that you get what you deserve. And I believe that you do. Like, maybe not today, but eventually you get what you deserve. If you're a good person, good things will end up happening to you. Does it mean that bad things aren't going to happen to you? No. But that's what, that's something that I do believe. So maybe it was my white culture, but how do you feel about getting what you deserve?
Getting what you deserve. I mean, I think, it's in a lot of leadership books. Even talks about getting what you deserve in some of the old school books like Think and Grow Rich and things like that. Mm-hmm. Some of the Napoleon Hill books. I read a lot of that stuff. But I think that's an aspect of life anyway. And that's kind of really how I live personally. I mean, not to really say like an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth sort of thing, but I do believe that you get what you deserve in life. I do believe in karma. I think most people probably do believe in karma in some way, shape, or form. And my whole thing is this: what exactly were they trying to do? Like what exactly? Like with the whole white culture thing. I just don't see because like there's a few things that I can name that are exclusive, to other cultures, and they're exclusive to those cultures because they actually have a culture. But
like Black people wear or use washcloths, and I don't know why white people don't generally use washcloths.
Yeah.
Can we just address that elephant in the room? Yeah. White people start using washcloths.
So white people literally just hold the bar of soap in their hand and just what the fuck? You ain't scrubbing nothing, bro.
You know what? We might just go rogue tonight, and I might get in deep shit because I feel like talking about some things. Why do white women always take their shoes off at the bar? Why do they do that? I mean, I feel like that might be white culture to a certain extent. You want to talk about white culture? White culture is running slow, taking your shoes off at the bar and feeling way too comfortable talking to a stranger about details of your life.
And patting everybody's dog and letting them kiss you all in the mouth.
Yeah, if you kiss your dog on the lips, you're probably white. So look,
at least you know, man.
Yeah, it ain't this guy, okay? But yeah, man, there's definitely certain things but that's what I like about cultures. I mean, cultures are funny when you can talk about them, but it's a shame because it's like, if you're trying to talk about every other culture, if you're white, you could really only bag on white culture, right? But if you're black, you can kind of go at each thing. And to me, again, as long as it's funny and in the context of a joke, I don't mind people joking about it because, that's when things get tough. I think a lot of times, I was talking to somebody the other day and they said, you think that people in the middle of the Jim Crow just never told jokes? You don't think some motherfucker was cleaning somebody's windows like, man, ain't this about a bitch? I mean, dude, we came all the way up north and look at this bullshit. Right. Maybe Captain Joe
we doing the same shit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I mean, they should have taken that down. I wish I knew what they were trying to do. Do you have any assumption what they were trying to do? Because I just can't put together outside of to me, it almost seems like, and there was things like, and I'll put it up one more time just to point out a couple of details on here that it says, Christianity is the norm. You don't have to be, first of all, it's funny how they put Christianity as the norm because there's a million types of Christianity. Right? I mean, you can be
crazy
Baptist, Presbyterian, Episcopalian, Mormon,
Methodist,
Catholic, there you go, Methodist, Seventh-day Adventist. I mean, I don't even know, Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't even know what they are. I don't know enough about it. Jehovah's Witnesses. Then you have, Muslims and Hindus and all these different things. I think most people don't even go to church on a regular basis anymore, I don't think. And the people that do just kind of go to church and then move on about their business. I don't know that there's a quote unquote norm anymore. I mean, you could use Christianity, but then you're going to lump in some people. I've heard people say Mormons aren't Christians. I've heard people say Jehovah's Witnesses aren't Christians. I mean, I've heard people say all kinds of different things. And who cares? I mean, I'm not sure what that has to do with being white. Most of my black friends that I grew up with, and I know people hate when a white guy says my black friends, but most of them were Christians. I would say they believed in God, they believed in Jesus. I don't know if they're trying to be anti this. I did find it funny.
That's kind of what I think. It's almost like they're trying to be like anti something, and I don't know. It's kind of difficult too because white culture, for whatever reason, I have a hard time separating white culture and like an American culture. I think there's been a very strong effort to sort of make white culture American culture. For example, let's see here. Like,
so do we get the good stuff or just the bad stuff? Did we free slaveries? Is that white culture? Or is Jim Crow white culture? Or is overturning Jim Crow white culture? You know what I mean?
I would say a little bit of both. That's a good question. But in general, it's not your culture. That's my whole point.
No, it's not.
It's not your culture at all. These are things that have happened over hundreds of years, even if you go, to big milestones that happen within 50-year increments. But yeah, this is not white culture. In general, white culture is not theirs. It's taking from somebody else. Now, not to loop all, I guess, white people in one. Like there's Greeks and things like that definitely have culture.
That's true. Italians have culture.
Yeah, Italians have culture. So it's not. But when I think of like America, I mean, I just think of like some like girl drinking Starbucks or something.
A basic bitch. That's your.
Yeah.
That's white culture.
Pumpkin spice latte.
Which it's funny because I don't disagree with that. But that's what frustrates me when they lump it in racially, because I go, how much so for me and the people that I grew up with, and you know this, my culture would have merged in and became a part of, I was closer to an urban culture than I would ever be to an elitist culture, to the kids that lived, let's just say for us, and for people that don't know this, there was different areas in the area that we grew up, and you had the circle, which was where the big single family nice homes were. There was also some nice homes on the outside, on the other side. But where I was at was the townhomes, and then they had like piggybacks, and if you had the Mews, you had the Meadows, were not the same as the circle. Like the circle was like where, I would hang out there one day, and then the person's dad would be like, "Ooh, don't have Kenny over. That kid's he's wearing cross colors and born and raised in Compton shirts. Like, we don't want that here." So, I mean, it's just different. And so it's hard to lump those people together that way, because you go, how much do you really have in common with this guy that did have some of the things on this list, right? Did have the, 2 parents, 2.5 kids, with the dad at work making the money and the mom's cleaning everything and being the homemaker. Like, I don't know what that's like. So when you're not in this, and then you're held responsible for the things that all white people do, I just think it's a very dangerous thing. Any closing thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad that you brought that up too, because, it's almost like, okay, to say, okay, like the nuclear family, for example, is white culture. Then what is black culture?
Right.
And not only that, but percentage wise, whites, especially now today, whites have more broken homes, I think, more so than anybody outside of blacks in the realm of per capita. I mean, there's obviously more white people and things like that. So, but yeah, so I mean, whites get divorced at the highest rate and things like that too. So
they only have 60%. When you talk about people in the home, you're 55, bordering on 50% there. So it's not nearly what it was back when it was 80 in the 50s.
In the 50s, so, yeah, I was gonna say a long time ago, way long, over half a century ago. So, but yeah, that these are the things that we're pretty much looking at. I really don't know what the purpose would have been in putting this in an African American museum of all places. But I just don't like. I can't even. My whole thing is this, and my one point I want to make clear really quick is that it's not really white culture, but there is something that is from the very beginning sort of programmed in all of us. Like when I think of people celebrating Thanksgiving, I don't think of like, it's like pictures of white people that come to mind, or when I think of like Christmas. I mean, not when I think of like my personal family's Christmas, but just like in general, when I think of like the quintessential American Christmas, I think of like a white family. When I think of
let me on the little bit of pushback on the Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving, you went to most of the same schools I did, if not all of them. And it was Pilgrims and Indians. It certainly wasn't like. And most of the Pilgrims, I always thought of them as like, not Hispanic, but kind of, because the Ponce de Leon and these different types of, I thought of them as Europeans and Indians. I never really thought of them as like my people. I wouldn't even have them aside from, I think I was like ancestors, obviously, of the whiter of the two groups, but I didn't look at it as a white thing. I do think Christmas, which again, we've had this discussion, it makes sense. You have 70% white people here. It would make a lot less sense to, for us growing up to have a black Santa Claus and purple elves. And then why
they gotta be purple?
I don't know. I was just thinking of a different color than green, and purple was the first one that came into my mind. Why green? I don't know, whatever. But, you look at that and you go, okay, so this is the environment we have. And again, the elves were green, so they weren't all white, just fat ass Santa Claus and his wife, which, we overly fantasize that stuff anyways. But no, sure. I agree with a lot of your points. I mean, certainly there's things that some white people do. But a lot of these things, I just don't think they should be looked at negative. I mean, being competitive, I don't know what black people they're talking about, because all the ones I know don't mind being number one. They don't mind working hard. They don't mind being in control of things. And some of these things, actually, if you read over it, and I would encourage our viewers to do that, a lot of it is actually just what men do. Yeah. And so I feel like a woman did this and wanted to point it at white men, but it's actually just a man thing. Men and women, you know, we'll go over this in another episode, but there's a lot of similarities between men and a lot of similarities between women within their groups. And there's some spectrum, but men do tend to act a certain way, and so do women. And a lot of these things that they're talking about on here are predominantly male traits. So I think they were taking some stab at that. But let's go ahead. I know you wanted to talk today about Mayor, I'm about to call her Apple Bottom, boots with the fur. But Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and Governor Kemp. So let me know what you got to start out with, and then we'll go from there.
Well, we've got Governor Kemp, who is suing Mayor Lance Bottoms of Atlanta, essentially trying to stop her from being able to mandate that the city of Atlanta wear masks. So I think this is a little bit odd. So he's actually trying to sue her as well as the city council. But he's not just trying to sue like the city of Atlanta. He's actually trying to sue her personally, which I think is really odd. The other thing is that I want to so you know, obviously Atlanta's not the only major city in Georgia that is mandated masks. So actually Savannah came out and mandated masks before that. Then what was it? I keep wanting to say Troy, but it wasn't Troy. It was two of the bigger cities. So yeah, Savannah had came out. Was it
Macon?
Macon as well did too.
Macon,
yeah,
right?
yeah, Macon, Savannah. There's one other one that I'm trying to think of, but there was 3 total that came out before Atlanta that mandated masks, and of course nothing happened. Then all of a sudden, you know, you've got Atlanta that comes out, and the governor is personally suing or attempting to sue, has filed suit against Lance Bottoms, as well as the city council personally. So it's not like he's just, you know, trying to sue the city of Atlanta, which is typical for that. And
so for whatever reason, though, on that, that actually halts the process of what it allows her to do. So by him doing that, it halted what she was trying to do. Is she was trying to go back to phase 1, which was going back to masks and increased social distancing measures. And so they were going to do that. And this is not for public and private. This is just for the public. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up is that how, you know, he is very pro-mask. So I wanted to make sure that was out there. He's done about 13 different tweets in the last 2 weeks. And so it's not just like started yesterday when he did this. He also has firm mandates. He actually has quite a few on the same executive order that he signed. It literally says that all residents and visitors of the state of Georgia shall practice social distancing. By misdemeanor, if you break that law, all residents are strongly encouraged to wear face masks and covering while outside of their homes, place of residence, except when eating, drinking, or exercising, and shall practice all sanitation and ordinance with the CDC. That was all in the same order as the one that he did, which he signed an order on the 15th that stated, and here was the controversial part, was that he said, pursuant to Code Section 38-328, other than orders issued pursuant to the Code Section, blah, 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 any county, municipal law, order, ordinance, rule, or regulation that requires people to wear face masks, face shields, or any other PPE while in places of public accommodation or on public property are suspended. And so essentially what he said was, you cannot, the federal or the state government is not going to control you in public places. So I love that. I was super excited when he said it. It's not that I don't think you should wear masks, just like he has repeatedly said, hey, wear masks, wear your PPE, okay? But when you are out in public, then we are not going to be a society where we force you to do this. You have to take personal responsibility for yourself. And so go ahead. I'll let you chime in from there.
Yeah, and so I actually agree. There was one part of Governor Kemp's argument that I do agree with in terms of I'm always going to err on the side of freedoms. I'm always going to err on the side of, okay, you guys know what the CDC has came out with. You know that these preventative measures in terms of wearing masks are exactly that, preventative. And we expect you to do the right thing, but we're not going to force you to do the right thing. So I do like that, and I understand that. My whole thing is it goes a little bit deeper than that. Because, again, there were 3 other major cities in Georgia that mandated masks, and he hasn't done anything in Savannah or any of the other surrounding cities. But the main part is 2 days
for the state, though. Once that happened, I mean, here's the problem. In Atlanta, you're going to have – I mean, Atlanta is much bigger than any other city in Georgia.
For sure.
And once it already went from Macon to Savannah, I want to say it was Augusta. And
yeah, Augusta. Yeah.
Is that what it was? I thought it was.
Yeah.
And then it goes to Atlanta. It's like, well, shoot. And actually, he did his order first. And then she did hers. And then he tried to sue her for that, to try to hold hers back. So this is not that he just came out and decided, oh, now's the time to do it. She came after he had just done this order. And then she did the phase 1 fallback. And then he went and filed suit. So to me,
exactly.
That was the order of events. So,
well, you also got to understand too. You got to understand that when Mayor Bottoms decided to do the mandation of masks, they're going off of data. When she decided to go back to phase 1, they're going off of data. They're going off of the numbers, and the numbers say that they need to go back. So and again, Trump came to Atlanta 2 days ago. And it wasn't until Mayor Bottoms had called out him not wearing a mask and violating the mask mandate, all of a sudden, it was literally that same day, is when the suit was filed. So we all know that Governor Kemp does the bidding for Trump. I think it's very odd. Again, none of these other cities have been, they still have mask mandated in Savannah and in Augusta, and Macon. So but
they don't have. But his lawsuit does the same thing for them. They don't have it now, nobody does. In the state of Georgia, starting 7/15, and he filed the paperwork 7/14. He did it 7/15. It started 7/16, which was just yesterday. You cannot mandate in public spaces. Walmart's doing it. There's a lot of companies that are doing it on the private interest side. I don't have any problem with that. We've talked about it before.
Of course, you're on your own business. You can do what you want, for sure. Absolutely.
Exactly. Here's the thing. There's definitely some beef between the two of them. Now, here's my problem. First of all, I think Mayor Lance Bottoms, I'll just full disclosure. I like Kemp. I cannot stand Mayor Lance Bottoms. I feel like she's trying. I mean, people know she's posturing to be vice president. But she did the whole, I feel like she did. First of all, let's just go over some data. So right now, and I apologize, I don't think I have it here. And the reason I don't, just so people know, I'm going to go over some of the. Go ahead.
Okay, and I was going to say while you're looking that up, I'll go because I feel the opposite. I don't like Governor Kemp, and I like Lance Bottoms, but I'm not like gun ho about it. It's
not so that I can't look it up. I have the data. I printed it out, and for whatever reason, it won't let me because it's not a picture. Put it up here, or I would.
Okay.
But this is according to the Atlanta Police Department. They're up in the last month. They're up almost 300% in murders. So it's very frustrating for people who have been following Mayor Bottoms from the time that the whole thing happened with, help me out with his name, Rashard Brooks, right? Mm-hmm. And how mismanaged that whole situation was. It became extremely political, and I feel like this is political too. To me, when you have 600% rise in the last week, and you have 300% over the last month, where murders is it's up 300%. That's skyrocketing in any way, shape, or form. Your arrests are way down. Your number of shooting incidents are up 154% over the last month. That does not include this last week where in the last 3 days, we lost 4 people in Atlanta. I don't understand why she's bickering with the President of the United States when she has an outbreak of violence and murders in her own city. They don't, in a typical year, they lose about 100 people to shootings. I want to say it was 115 to murder. We're already at 70, well past where they should be. Again, up 300% this month. You're up. Shooting victims are up 165% over the last month. You are failing as a mayor. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand. I'm going to be fair to her. There's situations going on. The Brooks thing happened. Then you also had a small child murdered. I mean, there is some issues in that city. But Atlanta, prior to her, 2012 to 2018, murder had been dropping in Atlanta. They had done a really good job with it. She gets hired, and again, I understand. COVID, to me, I think is going to shoot a lot of those violent murders up. Rape will be down because people are social distancing. Those numbers will go down, which they did. To be fair to her, robberies are down 17%, rapes are down 30%, aggravated assault is up. Burglaries down. But the violent offense, clearly of murder, you can't have it up that high and be complaining about this and that. I mean, I understand it. To me, you have to have the connection between whether or not, the data. It's like, well, the data says what? I looked at Atlanta's numbers. Georgia, we'll go ahead and bring this data up real quick. Let me go ahead and I'll share the screen. Chrome tab, but we'll go ahead and I'm going to show you the Georgia numbers. Okay. Here are the Georgia numbers. They don't have the Atlanta breakdown. I wish they did. I couldn't find it. But Georgia actually shut down sooner than most other places. And yes, you are totally correct in saying that Kemp does Trump's bidding and vice versa. They definitely have a close relationship, no doubt about it. But I want to show you something with the death.
And the other part, I'm glad that you pulled these charts up too, because as you can see, it's just very odd to me that it's no secret Georgia has had a huge spike in new cases. It's one of the highest states for spikes, and you would think that and 75% of citizens in Georgia are for the mask. They're for the mandation of masks. So
where'd you? I don't have that stat. I find that extremely hard to believe. So I'd love to see 75% agree with mandating masks.
Yeah.
I'd have to see that. That seems crazy to me. But
yeah, and they agree with Dr. Fauci on that as well too.
I totally disagree. Well, and the data right here, Georgia shut down early, and then they actually opened earlier than anybody else. Everybody said that they were going to have a spike. They reopened in May. You see no spike. May, June, July. And this goes back to my point. Look at the deaths. These are the deaths with the 7-day moving average. We can even do it with the 3-day moving average. But 7-day makes it look a little bit cleaner. But again, you've been even steady here. No shooting up of deaths. Okay, they did a very good job in Georgia. And we actually have a lot of people going back to work. And so we'll see what these cases right here do to the deaths. But I think it's also important.
I wouldn't say they've done a good job in Georgia. I would say, Governor Kemp, he wanted to try and show off and reopen the state, or be the first state to reopen, and then he got condemned by Trump for it. So,
but there was no bump. There was no bump.
But look at it now. Look at Georgia in comparison to the states now.
Right, because eventually you're going to get it. It's going to move. It's a virus. I mean, this has been pretty consistent. It moved.
What's the difference between Georgia and, say, I don't know, take any old Democratic state, maybe New Jersey or New York?
Well, a lot more people die in New York and New Jersey, but they're done. Correct. Because they already had it. It already ran through there. A virus is going to get into an area, and then once it gets into an area enough, it gets around a concentration of people, it's going to spread. And then I'm going to go with Dr. Fauci when he said masks don't work, since he's been doing this for 50 years, and then somehow 3 months later he changed his mind. But one of the things he said was how much people mess with it. I encourage all of our viewers, if they get a chance, go back and watch the Trump White House lawn when the people are sitting out there and they're waiting for him to come out. And you tell me how many of those liberal media hacks moved or touched their face. I'm going to tell you because I've already looked at it and I noticed it. A whole bunch of them.
Yeah,
and
a lot.
You go to Walmart, they have a mandatory thing shut. You know what they do? I went there today. They have their mask up. You say, hey, where is this or this? You go down right there and now you just touched everything. I mean, it's such a Dumbo's feather to me. So, yes, I still believe that people should. I'm not a big fan of it, and I already had it. So I don't, to me, it doesn't affect me that way.
And I don't like the mask either. Yeah, I don't like the mask either. I don't like wearing masks. I definitely don't want to have to be forced to do it. So I agree with Governor Kemp there. I just don't. I think that he's wasting the taxpayers' dollars on a lawsuit. And then personally going. Oh,
he's definitely, to me, no way, because he is saving the state a whole bunch of money by doing it. A whole bunch of money.
No way.
You let the businesses open. That's one of the things that Kemp's done an amazing job.
So that's one of the things.
Georgia, they will tell you, I'm here. I can tell you, we actually can't. We're hiring here. And part of the reason they're hiring is because they gave too much money to people we've talked about that a little bit before, with the unemployment is so high, it's hard to outpace.
Mayor Bottoms never was trying to shut down any jobs or businesses or anything like that.
No, she wasn't.
At all.
They were. In phase one, you have to close restaurants, bars, non-essential business. That is what she was trying to do. That is what he was trying to stop. So it wasn't just
when you go back to phase one, but you don't have to shut all restaurants down. It's open with limited availability and things like that. And it's an adjustment, but she wasn't trying to shut businesses down and shut down her economy. Absolutely not.
No,
that's something that the right was trying to.
I don't know if you want to say she was trying to, but going back to phase one is going to hurt businesses. That's undeniable. I don't think we can't bicker that out. Like, obviously the country, look at the hit the country took when we shut businesses down. That was phase one. So that's what she said she wanted to go back to. She said phase one out of her mouth. That's a quote.
Yeah, phase one. Absolutely.
Yeah, phase one is when they shut down. So non-essential businesses. So bars would be closed. Restaurants, yes, they're open, but separated. But
so
bars
you think you should
closed.
Just ignore data? And you think you should just ignore data?
The data of what?
The data of the CDC. You think
the data of the CDC that says that the masks. Let's go ahead and actually, I did this. I have the data. So let me go ahead and pull that up. So
pull it up, and then also because
hold on.
with the Georgia numbers as well, masks should be mandated. I don't like it. I personally don't agree with it, but I get it. So here's what's funny about this. Okay, first of all, these have been terrible. The IHME, the Internal Medicine, Health and Medicine. I can't remember what the E stands for, but they have been doing the layouts from the beginning. They've been wrong every step of the way. And how do I know? If you go back and watch my old videos before I have the great team that I have now, I talked about these, and it showed all of these things crashing and saying that it was going to be great after we did that 2-week. That's what they told us all. They lied to us. They told us if we socially distance, and then people say, well, we didn't socially distance. No, actually, yes, we did. And I can show you where we did. If you come down, this is the chart. Here you go. Here's our socially distancing. Okay. 50% of people on April 1st were basically socially distancing. Still 25%, right here, we're distancing between April and almost June 1st, or May 24th. Okay. So in between this time, if the data, right, says that socially distancing is the greatest thing since sliced bread, which what they showed us and told us before, then how come if you look at the dates and you go, okay, let's just go March, let's call it April 1st to
this time here, right? Let's go April. What is that down there? April 8th. There we go. We'll go April 8th. Okay. And then we're going to go to the 25 and we'll look at May 26th. Okay. May 26th. There you go. Okay. Between this period of time. Okay. If we take this, okay, and we jump back here and go, okay, let's look at this. April 8th. Okay. April 8th. On the 7-day moving average, you're looking at it real time, just as I am. It says 31. Correct? Let's go to, that's April 8th. Let's go ahead and go to May 26th, which is what we just showed. They had done a great job. May 26th, and the 3-day moving average was 25. So, or sorry, there we go. It was a 7-day. That's where we got the 31 from before. It's 31, the exact same. There was no change in the 7-day moving average of death with social distancing at 25% more. So, as you go, and clearly, we could have picked any group of numbers, okay? It was never going to spike until all the way down here, way after we, and even actually, if you look at the socially distancing chart, you'll notice that we actually started to socially distance more. Unfortunately, the IHME is always about 2 weeks behind, which is kind of a pain in the ass. But we actually started socially distancing more on July 2nd, okay? And again, we're still at about 15 to 20%, okay, of socially distancing. So now all of a sudden they throw in masks, okay? And they just came up with this. Oh, if we get the masks, oh, what do you know? The mobility will get back to zero. And if you go up here, you go, oh, well, what if we had the masks? Oh, the masks going to help that much. Look how, if we don't use them, so the masks would be the green line dropping down. Oh, it'll be over by November 1st if we just use masks. Well, I can tell you this. I looked at these charts 5 months ago, and they said the same exact thing about skeptic. Yes, I am extremely a skeptic. If you want to get this thing really resolved, if we're being serious about this, and we want to have this thing resolved, have everybody wear a mask, a shield, and a bodysuit. We can all buy one, that whole kit right there for about $50. Buy it. We all wear it no matter where we go for the next 2 months, and we'll see a drop. Because then that's what the doctors do, and bring gloves, and each time you touch something, remove them. The reality is, and I get it, we can debate this all day, but I believe that most people are going to get it. They're going to get it, or they're going to have asymptomatic, or their bodies just, are for whatever reason against it. You look at most of the cities are going to have some kind of spike at some point. And Georgia, because they've been open, their death rate has never spiked. We can see, I'll say it right here, right? It's July 17th. If Georgia starts spiking their death rate, starts spiking and spiking and spiking, then you can come back and say, well, at least at this point, we should have done more. But then my argument is going to be, I just don't see how the masks, there's nowhere that has showed me, let me ask you this. Do you think that we've worn more masks in the mask push that they're doing? Was that more in the last 2 weeks or 3 months ago? I mean, when do you feel like, because I feel like there's this huge mask push now. Do you not see that or not agree?
Yeah, there's definitely more of a push right now for masks, but I think that, and look, again, I don't like the mask. I don't really disagree with Governor Kemp in terms of him not wanting to mandate the mask. I just think it's a bad idea to sue your mayor. And so, but he's going to have to follow through with that. It's not going to look good for him. Just like back in April when he tried to, when he said that he didn't realize that asymptomatic people could transfer the disease. I mean, he's kind of made an ass of himself a lot. So he's no stranger to making an ass of himself. But I don't. Yeah, I mean, the masks help. They help for sure. I think that they help.
Help solve it or help eradicate it?
No, I think they help. I think they help the spread of it. I think they help, maintain the spread of it. Do I think they're the end all be all? No. Do I like to wear the mask personally? No.
So what do you think about Fauci saying that the mask only helps if you have it to not contract it to somebody else?
Yeah,
because if that's the case, I just think too many people touch it. But hey, we'll go ahead and we'll follow that back up. Let's go ahead and get to Nick Cannon and James Harden. Any thoughts on either of those? Did you hear the story? So James Harden wore a thin blue line mask. I thought it was a dope looking mask, to be quite honest with you. He came out and said that he wore it because it looked dope. He wasn't trying to make a political statement. I see a lot of irony there with the James Harden thing because they have all these things and slogans you can write on your back that are all liberal punchlines. No conservative, pro, because conservatives do have some pro-black things that they believe in for sure. And yet none of them, all liberal. And then he does something like that with an American flag and a blue black line, and people are going ham on him. Thoughts?
Yeah, I don't. Why do people waste their time with the dumb shit? Like this is absolutely crazy. This is insane. I don't think that he was trying to. I don't. In my heart of hearts, I don't think he was trying to do anything political. I don't think he was trying to make a statement of any sorts. However, being in your position, I do think you should be a little bit more mindful of how somebody could take what you're wearing. Does that mean that you should switch up what you're wearing or, live your life by what somebody else may think? No, because you got to draw a line. But,
just not a thin blue one. So
yeah,
let me ask you this. How many new Republican Twitter followers do you think he got today?
Yeah, he got 100,000 new ones.
At least 100,000. At least. Boy, he is the new Kanye West to the right wing on Twitter.
Well, what do you think? Do you think he like? I
don't think he did it politically. I heard that he doesn't even he doesn't follow that stuff at all. And I actually don't think he has to. I mean, to each his own. Like, how many of these people really gave a damn about politics or even know what they're talking about? I feel like most of them don't. And not because they're black. I think most people don't know when it comes to politics. I think most people are uneducated when it comes to politics. They don't have these discussions. They don't even know to have these discussions.
Right.
They're inundated by usually a single voice or maybe a single Twitter account. And so they're trying to do the right thing. I think a lot of times, I would say most of the time, people have their heart in the right place. I think Harden's kind of like, he's always been kind of an aloof person. So I think he just was like, it's cool. And it does look cool. Like, you'd be lying if you said that mask didn't look cool. I can understand how people think now's not the time. Okay. I mean,
it did look dope though. Yeah, it did.
It was a pretty dope looking mask. And then Nick Cannon, I got to give Nick Cannon, look, I know people are going to kill me for this. I'm only giving him credit because he did believe what he was saying. So the fact that he's doubled down on it and then tried to twist the narrative so somebody else is wrong without him apologizing.
Right.
It's a little bit like, man, that dude's a savage, especially since he's only dated white women. I mean, for a guy that's like harping on this, like whiteness evil thing. But again, I just think, I'm not for canceling people. I'm not for having people stand up. I just think if people didn't like what he said, then they can go ahead and not watch a show or not like him, and then the show will cancel him on its own. I don't like the concentrated effort for canceling. Like, I'm okay that he got canceled. I just don't like the mob. He said something that 80% of people said 10 years ago and nobody gave a damn. I don't think it was right. I think it was wrong what he said. So let me be clear.
I was going to say, yeah. Clear that up real quick.
I'm just saying, if you say bad things, then I don't think we should all gather together, get in a group and go, oh, no. Like, I'm just not going to, okay, I don't mess with you no more. Like, if I was an Eagles fan and had a Riley Cooper jersey and I hear him use the N-bomb, I just take it off, dump it in the trash. I don't want nothing to do with that guy. That's it. I don't need to call my senator. I don't need to, write letters to the president of the Eagles. I can just not mess with that dude no more.
Yeah. And I agree. It's pretty simple. I tend to live my life as simple as possible. If I don't like you, if you do something that I don't like or that I don't agree with, I just don't mess with you anymore. But there are those instances where somebody kind of just pushes your buttons and you feel like just not supporting them isn't enough. You know what I mean? You want them to be punished in some way. You want them to get fired from their job, or you want them to feel the heat. And I get that too. I mean, there are some people that do some seriously ignorant things out there, and I think that I think that there's a few Karens that have lost their job, and I'm not mad at it at all.
Right. I can be not mad. I let it happen organically. I think it usually will.
Yeah, and exactly. I don't think we should be, we shouldn't turn into our own version of the police that are going out and trying to find people to get fired. You know what I mean? Like, the police are out looking for trying to create crimes rather than, fighting crime. So,
all right. I'm not sure whether, I think Zach already left, but I still will answer his question. So if he reads this later, says it gets weird when people claim you need to judge me as an individual, but also my group has an important real culture. However, if you point out the differences in outcomes or statistics, then it reverts back to judge me as an individual. I would say, there's certainly some truth to that. I mean, you got to pick a lane. You can't just go, look, at the end of the day, we are going to be judged as individuals, and I think we are going to be judged as a group.
Yeah. You can't have it both ways, though. But I think that as an individual, believe it or not, you kind of represent a certain group, even as an individual. Everybody, while we're talking about cultures, and we talked about white culture earlier, there's these other little subcultures. There's like the country niche, or like the hip hop culture, or like the skater culture, or like the emo culture. And people typically tend to listen to that kind of music and dress that sort of way and things like that. It's not a bad thing. I mean, it's really not a bad thing at all.
I'm gonna let you link into this next one too, okay, Glenn. So it says, I thought that the unmarried birth rate was 70% in the Black community. I think it depends. Sometimes people use people always use stats in a funny way, but there is a stat that says how many are unmarried, and then there's with no guy in the home. So unmarried, I thought was like 83, and then I think the 70 is more the where there might be a guy in the home, but they're unmarried. Does that make sense? One's unmarried, 83 would be unmarried, but could have a guy in the home. 70 would be no guy in the home, not married, or married with no guy in the home, but no father in the home. That's what I think is accurate. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, it's high. Right? I mean, last time I checked, it was 76%. 76% of mothers give birth without a father in the home was the last statistic that I checked. And it's high, and that's unfortunate. And it makes me feel very, very fortunate and very proud. I grew up with both parents. My parents are still together to this day. They're high school sweethearts, and
that's so awesome.
It gave me a good foundation, and so I'm here. I am. I'm married, and I got the kids and the whole deal too. So
there you go, doing it. Yep. All right. What's such a big issue with wearing a mask? It's annoying, but it's only while you are in the store. I'll answer this one, and then we'll go ahead and get to the comments to get out of here. Andrew, it's not such a big issue with wearing the mask in the store. If a store tells me to wear it, I actually have no problem with wearing it in the store. I hate wearing it. I have a real problem breathing with it.
Me too.
I try to keep it on, and then when I walk into a store and there's a bunch of people not wearing it, and I'm struggling breathing, and then I'm seeing all the workers having it down here, and I'm going, it just becomes a point that I go, I don't believe it helps. If I believe that it helped, then I would wear it. I just don't believe it's actually helping. I would love to see the stats. Here we go in a couple months from now. But what happened is we socially distanced, and in a lot of places we socially distanced. Where they had the virus, it still shot up. And I left the chart out today, but I was going to show New York when they closed down, you give it 3 weeks and that thing shot up. So I'm not sure that social distancing did work. I mean, the data certainly doesn't look like it did. It looks like it's still moving to different locations and still growing. So we'll see. I try to wear a mask. I do. I've worn it. I have a shirt sleeve and I pull it over my mouth and nose, and then I actually have a handful of them from when, I had it. But go ahead, Glenn. I'm going to give you the last, and you can reply to that if you wanted to. I think, he's on the opposite side than I was on that, so I think he wanted to hear that. But go ahead and close it out for us. Last, give me your 2 minutes, and just so the crowd knows, what we're going to do from now on is Glenn's going to take a minute to 2. He's going to talk to you guys about whatever he feels like America needs to hear. I'm going to give 2 minutes. and then we're going to wrap this up with a big ass smiley face, and we'll be out of here. Go ahead, Glenn.
All right, cool. Well, again, thanks everybody for being with us tonight. We were talking a little bit about white culture. Are you trying to cut me off, Kenny? It's messed up. but yeah, we were talking about white culture for a second. And again, from what I always knew was that, white culture, whatever that was always the appropriation of other cultures. So, but again, you can't group all white people together either. You got Greeks, people that are from Greece and, from the Mediterranean area that certainly have culture. There's Italians that have culture. So there's a lot of some white people that have culture. But white culture, I don't think that that's a thing. So I don't really know what they were trying to do there, placing that in an African-American museum. We've got the Georgia governor. Again, he's made a lot of mistakes. He's done a lot of dumb things, just as his buddy Trump. So a pretty slick move in terms of him filing a lawsuit against the mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms. She, by him doing that, it essentially stopped her from being able to mandate masks in the city of Atlanta. And it also stops any other city from being able to do it as well. And so because of this, there will, I guess, moving forward now be case law on the matter. So an interesting time for sure. But again, I just want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. We do have a lot of new things coming up. We got some interviews that are going to be coming up, talking to some interesting people. So looking forward to it. And with that, I hope you all have a great weekend. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Kenny.
Hey, thanks, Glenn, again, for the show as always. And what I want to say tonight is I want to tell people that you can have multiple thoughts and opinions about many things. For me, I do think, if you're in an area where if you're in Georgia and you see the spike of cases going on, if you're in Florida, if you're in Texas, if you're in these places where there is a spike, be responsible with what you do. Make sure that you use the PPE that you should use. I'm always going to be against mandating these things in public places because it is my belief that as individuals, we should have the rights. And I actually think Kemp has done a fantastic job. And I actually think he may have saved Georgia in a way, because if he continues to do what he's doing and it allows businesses to open up, I think it's going to save and help a lot more people than what the opposite decision would do, which is shutting back down again and going back into the rabbit hole for another couple months to hibernate. And I don't think it worked in most of the places. The data shows that it did not work. So why go backwards? Okay, make sure you wash your hands, do all the little things. And you know what? You can do all those things and still get the virus, but you should still do them. Try to do them the best that you can. And at the end of the day, we do got to be in this together, be respectful, cough into your elbow, not like Biden where he's always coughing into his hands and then touching his mask. And it just makes my point for me. But I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. We really do love you guys. We love this country. That's what we want to do. I'm going to bring Glenn right back on here so we can throw our deuces, and then we're out of here, everybody.
All right. Yes, thanks again for being with us, y'all.
And I appreciate it. I also want to say I appreciate everybody's patience with me as I was working through. This is my first time hosting, so I appreciate it. And on that one, we out.
We out.